Remember that Maldives President and who was scheduled to arrive is now in the country. That's a ceremonial welcome that you see for the Maldivian president. And what a tenure Muizzu has had, specifically when it comes to the criticism against him that if he's more tilted toward China than India, which has shared a long history with Maldives. This is President Muizzu's first bilateral visit. And of course, the comments underline a lot of, now I can say that compared to earlier, a certain friendship among Homi after the whole diplomatic standoff that we had seen last year. Remember, 3 Maldivian ministers had made comments about Prime Minister Modi. His own election campaign didn't seem very favorable toward India. But it appears that Maldivian President Muizzu wants to put all of this now on the back burner. And now he has tried to put forth views of how Delhi is a valued partner and friend, that there is cooperation in several fields, including defense. That will be a priority. This was as part of the statement that had come in from President Mohamed Muizzu as he arrived in Delhi. This is the first bilateral visit. What you're looking at on your screen is a traditional guard of honor that's given to any dignitary head of state. And it's reflective of the ceremonial welcome that he's got. Also remember, at this point, very categorically, President Muizzu has maintained that he's looking at a lot of cooperation, deals, investments with regard to Maldives and India. India, remember, has been without a doubt one of the biggest contributors to Maldivian economy when it comes to tourism, for example. And that's something that perhaps the Maldives administration and the government have also realized, specifically after the whole boycott Maldives call had come in. So as right now, remember, the respect for neighbors, friends is what President Muizzu is focusing on. Meeting President of the country, Droupadi Murmu, and the dignitaries, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Muizzu. What a handshake. And with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Remember the kind of war of words that we had seen over the past few months, especially since Muizzu had taken over last year. But all smiles today, handshakes and smiles, and clearly a respect. Because remember, this is as much about a certain neighborhood that India has been focusing on, pushing not just the voice and rise of India, but as much for our neighbor nations. So to say, a certain smaller nations, but to ensure all of us progress together. Vasudev Kutumbakam, that has been our motto and logo, remember, for India as a civilization, and to only push it ahead. There are thousands of individuals from India who live and work in Maldives, and therefore there is definitely a certain relationship that here is being maintained. Are we looking at the turning of a page here on? Because amid all of that we have seen, including a diplomatic standoff and the focus of why not go to, for example, Sri Lanka than the Maldives. But today, Prime Minister Modi also interacting with the delegation from Maldives that had come. President Muizzu and Prime Minister Modi walking together with President of the country, Ms. Droupadi Murmu. So the guard of honor there, let's dip in to the visuals coming in. And an interaction very interesting, to say the least. Remember, one of the focus when President Muizzu earlier had, during his election campaign, the whole India out agenda, and if military personnel need to be replaced, specifically when it came to guarding of certain choppers that had been there in Maldives. But all of that appears to have possibly now been resolved. For now, as India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who we just saw with smiles and handshake with Maldivian President, visited Malé in August, recognizing common challenges and a shared interest in maintaining peace and security. A photo opportunity there, Prime Minister Modi, President Murmu, President Muizzu with the family members. That's the focus here right now. Geeta Mohan joining me for the latest on that, our Foreign Affairs editor. Geeta, what an interesting picture, isn't it? And it does look like that perhaps when you want to sit on the table and talk, you realize who your friends really can be.
Well, that's right. And also the Maldives is a very important country for India, Pooja, in the Indian Ocean, geostrategically speaking, as also is India for Dr. Muizzu, and the Maldivian president recognizes and realizes that. When the financial constraint hit the Maldives really bad, India acted as a guarantor and was the first responder even then. It was not their good friend China, although yes, they are doing a lot of work with China as well. Having said that, this is going to be a very important visit. We are looking at a very long visit. It's from 6th till the 10th that President Muizzu is going to be in India. He is going to go to Agra, to Bombay, to Bangalore. So there's a whole gamut of affairs that he's going to look into and look at. But it's the bilateral aspect that is going to be very, very important, because as part of our bilateral cooperation, we've hit some snags ourselves with the military personnel being asked to leave the Maldives, although they were there only for humanitarian work, to fly the Dornier and the helicopter for medical emergencies. But we still are servicing them through civilian
But also, Geeta, isn't it correct, and tell me more about it, that Maldives is clearly facing an economic crisis, and it realizes that while China and India both may want to invest and help, usually when China intends to help, it's also taking over and becomes a complete dominance like we've seen in other neighbor nations, and India perhaps would behave differently.
Absolutely. The Indian side, like I said, Pooja, has been of assistance, although we do know that they are going to continue working with China. The Maldivian administration balancing their relations with China and with India at this point in time. But going back to the helicopters and the Dornier, it's the Indian civilian personnel who are still servicing those the aircraft and the helicopter. And that's why it's very important to see the kind of conversations that the two sides are going to have on the maritime front. Maldives is a key maritime neighbor of India in the Indian Ocean region, and in the entire vision of the Sagar diplomacy, which is security and growth for all in the region. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi had made it very clear that in the neighborhood first policy as well, the Maldives will be one of the topmost priorities. It is for the Maldivian, Pooja, to now see whether if they want to side with China, because I say this not because of anything else. The Maldives has always had to balance sides between China and India. I say this because President Moizzu came to power in a campaign, in an India Out campaign, but it seems like now his entire policy is shifting towards a balancing act, towards friendly relations with India and understanding the importance and recognizing the importance of India.
All right, so it remains to be seen if Maldives and India can put everything right now on the back burner and move ahead. For now, all smiles and handshake, good to see, because eventually, remember, it is about not only history and friendship and trade, but it's also about moving ahead together. Thank you very much, Geeta, for the latest on that.